we on air?
Now we are.
All right.
Hold on. Actually, we're Esplanade On Air.
I like it.
This is a brand new show. Cheers.
Number one.
Number one. You're number one. Blake Jackson. That's what it said on the graphic. So
I haven't seen that graphic.
Well, welcome to your property where you are developing the Esplanade,
Thanks.
where the podcast studio has erupted with all kinds of excitement.
Yeah, we've been working on this for a couple of years now, and being just about a month away from completing our construction, it's hard to believe we've been here, and it's been a journey.
Well, and it's funny because you say a couple years, and I'm like literally driving by here the other day, coming to the studio, and I'm thinking it just popped up. As soon as you guys broke ground, it's just been nonstop go since then. I mean, have you slept at all?
A little bit, but
traveled some.
I have a lot of nightmares.
Yeah, I'll keep you up late.
That's right. But,
well, that's why we created this show, so we could talk about that, because development looks real easy, right? Everyone's driving by, they're like, "Oh, Blake, it looks so great." You're like,
People see me pace. I'm famous for pacing around, but that's kind of, I guess, my nervous tick.
Yeah. So. No, it's the we'll call it the business pace, because you really are working. I see you do that on your phone all the time. You're like this. You're walking around all the time with your phone.
Right. You can do, I say 90% of my work from my phone. So it allows me to be on site most of the time, or even when I'm traveling, I can, look at pictures and answer questions and or do video, whatever you need.
Well, that's part of development too, is that you travel a lot and you go and get ideas and experiences in other places. And I feel like I'm in another place right now. Because to be honest, when we first started working on the podcast studio, I remember that there was still paper on the floor. I hadn't even seen the marble shine the way it does. I hadn't seen the furniture in here yet. And every day that we come back to the studio to record another show, when we're in here, we see people renting their apartments. We see, like, he's working right now. The contractors are working. The property managers are working.
Going up. I've been dying to see the cabanas.
Oh, they look amazing.
They're made by Tucci out of Miami, Florida. And any fine hotel you go to, if you look for the logo, chances are they're Tucci. So when we started planning this, I almost start with the cabana and figure out the apartments later.
Okay, so that's what we're going to get to. I was about to say, because it's changing every day. And every day I walk in, there's like a new element. There's a new exciting thing. There's a plant. There's a couch or some...
Yeah, the cabanas, they're outdoor living rooms. So each one has a sectional sofa, a coffee table, a refrigerator.
That was today. I saw this today.
Lamp. Yeah, that's why I'm so casual. I get the financing deals done, but also put the furniture together and help them out in the field too.
Okay, so that brings me to the premise of the show, really, because we're going to be here every week talking about what's going on in the development, because this thing changes all the time. And one of our big things about living in this community, when people start moving in here more than the ones who already have, they're going to want to talk about their experience here and what they're feeling at the Esplanade, because there's a lot of creative, fun people already in this room and in the development. And so tell me a little bit about your vision for this when you very first started. I mean, did you just wake up, I saw the napkin, draw it on a napkin and say, this is it? Or have you kind of changed the dream and the vision as you go?
Well, so I've always wanted to, the idea of living in a hotel has kind of been a dream. And so everything we do, I look at what resorts do and we apply that to apartment living. And the line between apartments and resorts is getting shorter every day.
It doesn't exist here.
Because, like a hotel is basically a short-term apartment.
Right.
You don't furnish it yourself. But, we have apartments that you can get furnished and can be a short-term stay. So, and you have hotels now where you can rent them by the month. So really, what defines a resort or a hotel versus what defines an apartment, that line's being blurred. And that's one of our goals, to do that even further. So
yeah, you certainly are doing that here, because I will say it's like this. I hope this sounds like you want it to, because I literally feel like I walk into Instagram every time I walk in here, like a real life Instagram. Like everything is beautiful, everything is lit properly, everything is shining in a specific way. So how do you do that though? Tell me your background, because we can talk about business on another show if we want to, but Esplanade On Air is kind of about this specific property and you and what you've dreamed up. I know you have a group and there's the Monday group and everything, but a lot of this looks like it came straight out of your brain. So tell me kind of how this started with you, the Esplanade specifically, and wanting to create this kind of vision.
So I'm an architect, and but in order for an architect to have total control, you have to become a developer. And I learned that working for other developers downtown Little Rock. And I remember being at tables with them, and we have a lot of fun on the design side, but I saw how much fun they have on the developer side.
Right.
And so me and my brothers and family formed the Monday group, and so we could create our own developments. And so, yeah, through travel, I get a lot of ideas, whether it's, like the wood screen back here. And just these plants that were delivered today, that what those do, they look good, but it breaks the scale of this large room down to more of the human scale.
Mm-hmm.
And so while you kind of have to think about the overall development at times, you also have to think about what each individual space is going to feel like. So,
but that's what's crazy about this place. It's not like any other place I've been in Central Arkansas. And I mean, I'm not saying that because our podcast studio's here. I'm not saying that because it's a cool apartment. I'm saying that because that is true.
And having a podcast studio here, I think
Killer.
is really cool. I went Royal Caribbean right after year 2000, came out with these fleet of ships. Voyager of the Seas was the first one I went on. And Royal Caribbean was all about bringing things to cruise ships that you would never dream of, like ice skating rinks. They had a Studio B, which was a television studio. And so those types of memories is kind of what inspired putting a podcast studio in the lobby here. This was going to be a conference room.
This is so much cooler than a conference room.
And I'm like, we have 5 other conference rooms over there. Let's make this a podcast studio, because that's kind of when I met you for the first time. And I was at Crush Wine Bar, and a guy named John talked about podcasting, and hearing him talk about that, I was looking at construction photos of here, and I was like, this has got to be a podcast studio.
Well, and this is the thing. I love it, because now we get to have these conversations and follow the development and the creativity and the excitement of the people who live here and hear their creativity and their excitement. But what's cool about having an actual studio is you're producing content for people on top of it. And you just talked about those things that a Royal Caribbean wanted to put in their ships to make it a one-of-a-kind experience. Talk about, I want to move into a place and be able to create content. I want to do a podcast. I want to have my guests on. I want to be able to entertain them. This is the perfect space to do that. Like, I can't wait to have people here and just be like, I live here, but you won't let me move in until like the second or third.
Well, everybody has their own passions and hobbies, and this becomes an outlet for them to share those with people.
As soon as you said Royal Caribbean, my mind immediately went to like, those aren't the kind of ships you like. You like ships in bottles.
Not in bottles, in glass cases.
In glass cases, excuse me. But yeah, can you make them inside of do they make them or they encase them afterwards? Because I'm assuming.
Well, the glass bottle thing it's more of a trick. Like, how did they build that inside the bottle? And the way you do it is the mask fold down and you stick it in there, and then you pull a string and the mask come up. So that's how those work.
You're so smart. So here's the thing. Blake has weird hobbies. There's lots of weird hobbies associated, but this goes back to the development piece because you have this grand scale mind that dreams up, okay, I'm going to put all of these things here, which I'm not going to give too much away about what I know about future phases. I'll let you do that. But when it comes down to developing, like you said, a large scale project, you're thinking about where people are going to live. What are they going to do with their time? How are they going to spend it here at the development? Additionally, how is every detail going to look when they're walking through the lobby?
I like small boutique projects, but in order to do really creative, inventive things, you have to build density. And to do density, you have to build a lot of households. But I don't want them to all be apartments. We have plans to do single family residences, condominiums, a hotel, but apartments is kind of what we've specialized in thus far. So that's our bread and butter. So that's what we've started with. And we already are working on the plans for the second phase. And second phase is going to be a lot bigger than the first phase, but a lot of the amenities are in this phase. So until phase 2 opens, this is going to be a very unique project in the sense that we have this enormous pool out here, and there's only 92 units, but one of them's a model. So it's really 91 apartments. So to have 7 private cabanas, a swim up bar, fitness center, podcast studio, a lobby like we have right out here.
Oh yeah, and shuffleboard, I will take you down.
Like, that would be nice. These amenities would be nice for a 1,500 unit apartment community.
It's very
and the fact
exclusive
that this
right
is
now.
only 91 is very exclusive. They're going fast.
It's almost invite only at this point, and that's the thing is, like, having you on the show is great, but I'm a little bit scared for your leasing agents because they're going to be busy. Super busy as soon as we get done here. People know about the Esplanade, but they haven't been back here since all of this. And I can tell you that the way it moves, the project moves from a consumer standpoint, like every day I come back here, something's different. And so people are missing this phase of like what you're talking about, this exclusivity, and you're going to run out of apartments to rent them because you're going to have to build these faster.
The next phase, I hope to start building it in January, and it'll take 16 months for the first building in that phase to
Better
open.
get on the wait list.
And so the fact that this one's largely leased, there's going to be a time frame where this is it. But that's what makes it really special. And what's cool, we're in this very quiet corner of North Little Rock. Like, it's like a jungle back here in a cool way. Like when we were getting those rainstorms, you felt like you're in Costa Rica. Because the land, like right behind me, it slopes up about 60 feet. It's covered in old growth trees, and it takes you don't feel like you're 2 minutes from downtown North Little Rock and Argenta. So, and then we're on the Millennium Bike Trail. That's actually where we're getting a lot of exposure from, is from all the people that ride their bikes and jog. We have a Riverview Park right here, Emerald Park, Burns Park by bike is next door. You can't drive to it or you can if you go around, but it's cool. You can go to Burns Park by bike in like 3 minutes. So this is, before we kind of came up with this vision, everybody probably thought we were, crazy
that's
building
the next
over
point.
here.
Yeah, that's the next point I was going to make.
But, I've got about a 10-year plan to develop the 41 acres we currently own. And it's just going to get, I'm not going to say bigger. It's going to get just more interesting. Like we'll have retail, restaurants, bars, and things like that. So.
Yeah, it's layered development for sure. And what's interesting about it is I was kind of screaming this from the rooftops. And so when I met you, you remember how excited I was the first time we sat down together face to face and I got a chance to hear what your plans were, because I was thinking, I've been waiting so long for somebody to come on this river and be like, hey, check this out. This is a beautiful city. This is a beautiful town. Everyone loves Little Rock and North Little Rock. This river has not a ton of development on it. There's just not a ton. Like you said, it's untouched land. This was in an opportunity zone too, which is a unique financing position. And it makes the whole opportunity of being here, it gives back to the community, it gives people things to do, a place to come. It's like exclusive.
Right.
But it has this, it's unbelievable positioning to go downtown and hang out with your friends, or to go to Burns Park. That's there are thousands of people who play soccer there 3 or 4 nights a week too. And so it's incredible.
River Road, if you're familiar with 30A, the Panhandle of Florida, the similarities between 30A and River Road are pretty neat, because 30A, you have Seaside is probably the most famous, but now you have Alice Beach, Rosemary, Watercolor. And just like those are individual brands and individual developers, collectively, it's created the 30A community or the strip. And so similar to that, we're the Esplanade District, but then you have Rockwater, Argenta, and it's all just right next, one right after the other.
It's a bike ride. And that's the thing. So when you come in here too, it's fun when you're going by Rockwater and you start seeing people riding their bike. And then by the time you hit the Esplanade, it's nothing but people riding their bike up and down. And so it's an incredible, fun experience to be here. But again, when it comes down to dreaming this thing, like you said, that's a big point I want to make, is people probably were like, you're nuts. No one's ever done this before. That's a super luxury, high-end kind of vibe to it. It's like I said, I've never been anywhere in Central Arkansas that feels like the Esplanade. So like, where do you get off doing something like that with no permission?
Yeah. You got to be a little crazy, but, but cool. Focused and disciplined. And I think that's what we are.
You're an architect. Like you mentioned, that's not a skill that you just pick up in life. That's a full education and background and something that you've learned and really dove into. What other skills and talents does it take to build a development though? Because I have a real estate background. I understand the value of things. I get that. The economics behind it.
Well, that's one thing. So going into development, I like, because, design's still my passion, but as a developer, you do financing, you do contracts, so legal, marketing, branding is a huge part of it. And what's cool about being kind of doing the branding at the same time you're designing, you can incorporate design elements from a brochure into the architecture of the building and vice versa. So I think doing a little bit of all of it makes the brand stronger and more unique. And being an architect, our development in Maumelle is Mediterranean. I thought that was more appropriate for that community. Since we're in this kind of over by ourselves in a way in this property, I was like, let's do something really contemporary. And there's a resort north of Cancun, about 30 miles, called The Finest. And it's white stucco, beautiful gardens. And so I think a lot of the inspiration from that, along with the Faena Hotel in South Beach, Miami, and then a condo my family's been going to for 20 years called the Eden in Perdido Key, Florida. All three of those projects had white stucco and were monochromatic, and that allows the greenery around us to stand out more. So in terms of form, the architecture is pretty striking, but by not having a lot of color in the architecture allows for nature to play a big role in the overall design.
Yeah, you've done an incredible job with this place. And when you talk about your craft, you really light up. So this is really fun to hear about from the start to now, because really I kind of got lucky. I came to the groundbreaking and then I came back and everything was done. So I'm sure that everybody in your group
a lot of people
think
it happens fast. I think it
doesn't.
Moves at a snail's pace.
Well, that's just the way your mind works. I've learned that from working with you. Your mind is like boom, boom, boom all the time.
We have the whole 41 acres designed, and I'd love to just build it all at once. but the bank wants you to do it phase at a time. And
well, not just that, but I have a show to produce here. Okay. I need you to slow down and give me a couple weeks of content. So that being said, what's your favorite? Okay. Well, before I go there, the Monday group is comprised more than of just you, right? You and your family are doing this. Me and
my brothers and family.
Okay. So in that process, your role is obviously you're doing a lot here. And I come on site enough to work in the studio that I see you here pacing, but even the camera guy's shaking his head. Roman's like, me too. You're walking around here all the time. You're working, you're networking, you're doing the marketing, branding. So kind of tell me a little bit about everyone else's position and like, what does that do for you in the sense you must have a magnificent team behind you to be able to pull this off?
I do. And, we've got great, like First Security Bank's done all the financing for us. They've been wonderful. Our attorneys, for the most part, we've used the same people. The contractors built the last 4 or 5 projects. So we've just really developed a great, I'd say team, because they're individual companies. Nobody really works for us, or they work for us. They're not part of our company. It's
they just work with you and they just create this culture.
But we've been doing project after project together. And so everybody knows kind of how everybody works and functions. And so we've become very efficient. I think.
This popped up overnight, Blake. I'm aware of the efficiency.
Like each project gets bigger and bigger.
Right.
But in ways easier and easier. And so that has to do with just the quality of people we've assembled to put these projects together and just being used to working together. So
what about working with family? Is that sometimes like, I won't go too far into that because, I didn't prepare you for that question, but what about when you're working with family? Can that get complicated at times? Like, hey, I want to go build a podcast studio, or I want to go put a swim up bar, or I want to throw these cabanas in here. And they're like, wait, no, I want to put a helicopter pad.
Yeah, I like to move really fast, and some of my partners would rather, take it easy a little bit more. So I'm kind of the one that pushes us to, continue to grow and get bigger.
And you've executed really well in the past.
Well, it's like we have a track record now.
Right.
I remember, the first phase, everybody's like, who are you? What are you doing? And that was successful. And even, I still go to the Mall Mill property every day, and it looks brand new, and the trees are actually really matured well. And so I think properties just get better with age.
You just lost another apartment. This group just is about to lease another apartment. Oh, welcome to the Esplanade. Sorry.
Fantastic.
But that's the thing is what goes on here is people really kind of fall in love with that overnight achievement, truthfully, because you walk by, I said, I came to the groundbreaking, I come back next time. This whole thing was built. It was a matter of a few months. Again, that was full on efficiency. But when you talk about running up against, or when I think about this kind of project, I'm thinking about running up against walls. I'm thinking, okay, you have all these teams and great people that you work with, but what happens when it gets bad? What happens when it's like the worst day ever? You found out something in the design didn't execute properly, or someone didn't do their job, or what happens then? How do you solve the problem? And like personally, how do you deal with that?
Well, you just have to put your blindfolders on and take it one step at a time. Every project, you got to know the textbook of how to do developments, but the problems are things that come out of left field that you never anticipated. And I think it just takes experience to learn how to navigate through those. But, having good consultants, good team members, we've been able to work through all those challenges and successfully. And we try not to make whatever those problems, we don't want to happen again, but inevitably every project, new things come up. And
it's gonna be a new problem with a new development, because every single time, I'm just thinking in my head too, the art, like the windows, just a personal question. The windows of this building curve with such an different degree than I see in a lot of buildings. And I know that's a difficult element. Did you have trouble? Is there a specific glass person you've already worked with before? You knew that they could do this? Was it something you're like, I don't care? I'm just going to find the person. This is what I'm going to do.
A lot of the subcontractors are the same. Like
from the village.
Greg Oaks with Oaks Brothers is everything I've done so far has been stucco for the most part, and Oaks Brothers has done all of it. Sounds like a plug for them, but
it can be.
But they help us
good job
develop the details that we use from project to project, and so that's become a sub I hardly have to even worry about or think about, because they know what I like, and I like the job they do. So. And speaking of curves, so this project, the site plan is curved, and that's because we're right next to the river. The river's very fluid. And I like to bring that up because the buildings are laid out in a curve. Our pool is nothing but curves, and that makes the spaces really dynamic. And And this project's not all building and asphalt. We have a tremendous amount of garden areas.
The landscaping is amazing.
And just compare us to some of the other properties, and you'll notice that a lot of times people see and they feel how nice it is, but they can't put their finger on what's making it nicer. And it's a combination of all those little things, like more garden space and heavier doors and things like that.
The waterfalls in the apartments are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, the waterfall countertops.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. And I think too, for me, from a real estate perspective, that was a very attractive piece of this property. Is when I was looking at it, I was still full on into that game and really looking at the things that were happening in Central Arkansas and wondering, like, when is someone going to show up here and do some crazy, amazing luxury development on the river? It needs to happen. And then here it is. So this has been an incredible journey to watch from the very beginning. Yep. So what about day to day though? You're here all the time. I see you hang out with the property manager, the contractor. The leasing agents are fun. They're hilarious.
Yeah.
And kind.
The property management, that's the First Capital Residential.
Okay.
And, I kind of, leave all that up to them, but I'm here every day overseeing it. And, but like I said, we have a great team. They're filling this place up quickly.
So what about when the work's done? What about party time?
Well, it's never done because we've already, we're still finishing this. We had our second meeting on the next phase just yesterday, and that meeting's every other week. And so we're working on what's called construction documents for that. And it's going to be a really big project. I'm excited to announce it. And it's already designed. We have beautiful renderings, but I typically wait till financing's in place before I share, what it's going to look like, because that's a major part of it. And
plus, you don't want to get everybody too excited. I'm already overexcited. It's going
to be neat. And we started doing fly-through videos, and our renderings are photorealistic, but in addition to that, we're doing fly-through renderings, and I'm starting to get into back into model building, because a lot of people like to just see a physical model and walk around them.
Okay, I'll try not to tell you that I totally saw that, but I didn't mean to see that. I was in your office getting these chairs because I needed them previously, some other chairs. And when I walked by, I saw a little model of and it was not all put together, but I saw pieces and I just walked away. I didn't look any closer, but I wanted to.
Yeah. Well, that was just a sample, but
so you're going to build it?
Well, I've got help, so
that's going to be fun. Yeah. That's going to be really fun. That's an architect thing for sure.
That's something people non-architects can, a picture says 1,000 words. So what does a model, say? So
well, and a big thing though is what you mentioned is architectural elements in this place. Yes, they're grand and they're great and they're all wonderful. But when you really get down to the details, they're in the paint behind you on the wall. They're in the light switches. They're in the W's by the bathroom. They're like little itty bitty details.
Yeah, the details matter. Place. Like you got to have a good master plan, but it comes down to I love our
execution.
Our door handles are very nice for apartments, and it shouldn't be apartments versus a condo or a house.
It's luxury living. That's what I'm calling it.
It's just about good design. And so I think and I also think about, when somebody enters their apartment from where they park their car, what's that experience like? Most apartment breezeways are boring, mundane. And it's like, the interior of the apartment might be nice. And then as soon as you step out the door, it's like you're in just like a concrete breezeway. Well, all of ours have courtyards that you first enter into. And when you reach the top of the stair, if you're on the second or third level, you're overlooking the pool. The whole sequence, it's like there's a lot of similarities between movie making and architecture. And architecture, just like movies, is about, how you move through space and interact. Yeah.
The approach and the exit and the way it makes you feel and the whole experience. And I love that because I think that's where a lot of our vibe matches up too, is that like with me and my team, we're so creative in the element of we like to take what you're doing and expose that to the people around us. And I remember the other day when this video came out, we talked about the launch of the Esplanade On Air and actually having the show and having the studio. People were calling me left and right and going, you've got to be kidding me. We're in trouble. Because the two of us getting together and I know you had breakfast with one of our mutual friends the other day, Brian Pitts. Yeah. And I got on the phone with him afterwards and we were talking about like, this is going to be trouble, you two together, because you've got a lot of great ideas and great energy. And I feel the same way about my ideas and energy, but with respect to movie making kind of cinematically, our marketing and advertising and what we do through podcasting and what you guys do with this development are just they work together very well.
Well, I like media and cinema and architecture and development. And I think putting those together and seeing how residents here will use this studio. And
that was exactly what I was about to go into.
I really don't know where it's going to go, but I think it'll be interesting. It's a lot more interesting than this being a fifth
conference room. Right.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing. Like, we can have a conference if you want to about all the exciting shows, but there are so many people around town that have amazing shows that they want to start. And so my challenge to them now, I get to say, well, I know a place where you can move and you have a studio down there and you can book time and we can help you brand and figure this thing out. But what's great about having a Jumpstart Launchpad in your development is that there are people who literally have these niche interests and beliefs that can move into this place, like we talked about, and have access to things they didn't have access to before. That's what I think about with your development, as far as putting something like that in here. You gave all of Central Arkansas some place to go. They can have a luxury place. They can feel like they are literally living somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm surprised. A lot of people I tell about this studio, they just like, well, I want a podcast.
Exactly. So. This is the thing about podcasts people don't understand. Everyone listening to this one and everyone listening to any show that we slate here, they have a specific interest and they're looking for someone that wants to have a conversation with them about it. And it's like we talked about with ships too. There's a whole community of people who want to talk about ships or architecture or plants or camera or cinematics. Right. And so allowing them the opportunity to have a platform.
And all they have to do is show up. We have the equipment.
It's all there. It's plug and play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Plus you can like literally right now, there's people out in the lobby right now that are touring these apartments. The guy has a shirt. Look, he got a shirt. They're chilling. They're like, we live here now. They're going to play shuffleboard out here. Yeah. They're going to play pool. They're going to sit there. Look, there's someone else over there by the fireplace. So this is like a hangout space. It's just very exclusive because you have to live here. So Esplanade On Air in person.
I can't wait for just all the activity and a full lobby. So
yeah,
it already
I was like, it's happening right now. They're like, wait, can we be on the show next time? Yeah. Well, this is going to be fun. And if you drive by at night, pretty soon we'll have a light in the window and you'll know when we're on air. And as far as the grand opening parties and all the things that are to come, you will just need to follow us at Esplanade On Air on Facebook and on YouTube and catch these episodes as they come out. But we'll also be visiting with people.
Yeah, we got to bring everybody else in.
I was about to say.
So I'm not in the hot seat all the time.
I know. I was going to say, thank you for taking your valuable time to sit with us today. I know I'm not always going to get the opportunity to have you in here, but my goal is to continually pull you and your team in as I can and expose to everybody in Central Arkansas what's going on here at the Esplanade, because this is the place to be and the people to be with for sure.
Well, thanks.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. Congratulations on the first episode of the Esplanade On Air.
Got it done.
Yep, got it done. Thank you to, oh, look, I was going to try and pull him in here. So the property manager and I have a thing. We're trying to come up with a character name for him because he doesn't want to go by his real name in case he's dealing with a problem, you know? So we're going to go, under a character name. I'm excited about it. Oh, well, we've got new people leasing apartments, so we better get off here and get out of the studio in case they need to record something of their own. If you are looking for a great place to live that has a podcast studio where you can come and create anything that you dream of.
Esplanadedistrict.com.
That's the one.
And Jumpstart Studios.
Yep. And all.io. And you can also come on to the YouTube website, watch all of the platforms. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, any place that you look on social, you type the word Esplanade, you will find us. So thank you for being here.
Thanks. This was fun.
Congratulations and have fun. It's Friday. So TJF.
Yep.
See you next time. Esplanade On Air, turning off.